Jonah the Traveling Turkey by Debbie Happy Cohen, with cover art by Vito Acosta. Once upon a time, there lived a big, huge, fat turkey. In fact, he was the biggest, hugest, fattest turkey in all the land. When Jonah was a kid, the other turkeys would make fun of him. They would point at him from across the road and from high up in the trees, and even at times from across the town. He was that big, and they would laugh. At first he cried, but then they'd laugh at him even more, until he figured out that he might be better off by himself. And yes, this is so sad that I hesitate to share it with you, but Jonah's parents and siblings laughed at him too. Luckily, Jonah's school teacher, who by the way did not laugh at him, taught him how to read. And the best thing he learned about books is that they never ever make fun of you or tease you or laugh at you or try to hurt your feelings. Not only that, but they take you to worlds and places and possibilities that never ever existed before. And so, at a very tender young age, Jonah began dreaming about traveling the world. In his imagination, Jonah would visit the great pyramids of Egypt. He would sail the vast oceans. He would stand on top of a volcano that was about to erupt. He would float on the healing waters of the Dead Sea. And he'd ride horses in the Wild West, just like a cowboy. One day, a tall man from the city of London came to visit Jonah's turkey village in Ireland. His name was Mr. Pickett, and he told the turkeys in the village square that he was searching for the largest turkey in the world, and might they be able to assist him. Together, all of the turkeys pointed to Jonah, who, as usual, was sitting under his favorite tree on his favorite hill, reading a book. Mr. Pickett was so excited when he saw Jonah that he nearly jumped out of his own skin. He had been around the world a few times over, and by far, Jonah was the biggest, hugest, fattest turkey he had ever seen. Mr. Pickett respectfully walked over to Jonah and asked him what he was reading. Jonah gobbled in reply and pointed to the cover of the book, Treasure Island. "Ah," said Mr. Pickett, "I've read that book. It's one of my favorites. Say, if you enjoy reading adventure stories, maybe you'd enjoy having an adventure." And Mr. Pickett went on to explain that there was a contest coming up in London for the biggest, hugest, fattest turkey in the world, and that the prize money was also big, and that first prize also included, can you guess? 2 first-class tickets for a trip around the world. Mr. Pickett promised Jonah that if he would accompany him to London for the contest, he could enjoy all of the books he would ever want to read. Well, before Mr. Pickett was even done speaking, Jonah had picked up his book and put it in his bag. By the time Mr. Pickett asked Jonah if he'd like to go, Jonah was waiting and ready, the way you'd be standing if you were waiting for your train to arrive. So they traveled from Ireland to London. And Jonah needed an umbrella since it rained so much, because he had to be dry for the contest. Easy as pie, Jonah won first prize, and Mr. Pickett and Jonah spent the next 2 years traveling all around the world. It wasn't quite exactly like Jonah's imagination. For example, they did climb to the rim of a volcano in Hawaii and looked inside, but it was certainly not an active volcano about to erupt. It was still amazing, and Jonah and Mr. Pickett became fast friends. They danced with African tribespeople and sang songs of celebration at weddings and parties around the world. Jonah gobbled, but he knew the words. They ate sweet bean curd dessert in Japan. They rode camels in Mongolia and elephants in Thailand, and they snorkeled among the coral reefs in Australia. They even drank tea in Turkey. Jonah and Mr. Pickett took photographs everywhere they went. And while they traveled, on planes and trains, and in cars and boats, they always brought their favorite books along for the ride. And they traded them with each other when they were done. Jonah's imagination had come to life, and so had Mr. Pickett's. And when they were done traveling to their heart's content, Jonah went back to visit his home village, where he shared stories and photographs of his adventures with the flock of turkeys who naturally understood his gobble. They cheered him on and treated him with the respect and kindness that he deserved. So he decided to stay and teach the children how to read. But not just how to read, how to use their imaginations to travel wherever they wanted. And they were the happiest turkey children in the whole wide world. The end. Jonah the Traveling Turkey was brought to you by getfairytales.com, where we are creating a new world, one audio at a time.